Aloha, Sacred Sisters. This is Dewi Maile Lim with Quickening, our Embodied Feminine Leadership Speaker Series. And I'm so delighted to welcome you all to episode 7. So we've been going for almost 2 months now, 2 months strong. We have 2 more sessions to follow this, and it looks like they might be all booked up, but still put your speaker form in if you're interested in participating, because I will have a follow-up series. I will do series 2 probably after Mercury retrograde. So I'll keep you all posted on that. So I wanted to give an overview just quickly on what this series is about and why we're doing it. LinkedIn, so this is primarily promoted and shared on LinkedIn, and then anything else that our speaker presenters, anywhere else you feel to share it, like your email list or your socials, is welcome as well, because we want to spread the word. But really the original vision around this was to create a space on the platform of LinkedIn for embodied feminine leaders to co-create and connect and to support one another. And the nature of LinkedIn has changed over the last, I think, year or two, where they're really empowering creators, or in our case, creatrixes, to be seen and to be rewarded through the algorithm for the content you create. It doesn't have the same limitations that Facebook and Instagram, which most of us are probably used to using to promote ourselves and our businesses and share our lives, doesn't have the same limitations. So I'm actually going to present today in a little bit after our first 2 speakers on how to kind of bust through the content matrix of LinkedIn when you're sharing content there. And it can be repurposed content. But anyway, I just wanted to share some of the tips and tricks that I've been learning, and like literally just have been applying in the last month, and already seeing tremendous traction in terms of impressions and reach. So my intention is for you all to be more inspired to share there and show up there and really stand out and shine as the thought leaders that you are. So this series is collaborative, and I'm going to introduce and pin all of our speakers today, including myself, so that you can meet all of us first before we get started. So this is Jenna, and then this is Sherry. Here we are. So I know a lot of amazing women from all over the world, and these are 2 of them. We are in this new paradigm place of business as usual is no longer going to stand. And many of us are, I feel like one of the things in common with all of the women who are part of this series is that we are stand for doing business the feminine way, doing business our way, working with nature and the cosmos to align with really the visions that we see for the planet and ourselves, and having that be integral to how we do business and how we show up and how we collaborate. And so in the spirit, collaboration over competition is really what I'm all about. And in my groups and in the circles that I run with, in line and in person, I'm really about creating a synergistic sisterhood amongst the women that I play with. And that's really what lights me up. And I feel like together we can co-create something much more beautiful and powerful and potent when we come together. And when we also stand in our own individual thought leadership and our wisdom and our embodied feminine experience. And so that's what this is about. And so today I have 2 beautiful sisters to join the stage with me. And first I want to introduce to you Sherry Moyse. So Sherry is one of my biz besties. I've known her for several years now. We've actually gotten to meet in person. She's an intuitive business mentor who supports astro-curious entrepreneurs to leverage the guidance of the cosmos so that they can connect with more soul clients, make more income and impact. And she's completing her certification as a moon site planning practitioner and astrologer, which I love. I've actually been in Sherry's group. She has an alchemy lab group for business women who are wanting to really work with the alignment of the cosmos with planning and also with rest, periods of rest. So I personally attest to Sherry and her container she holds. And she's very much into tuning in with your own powerful GPS system. And that's the inner wisdom and guidance of the planets plus astrology plus your own intuition and insight. And so that's Sherry. And then we have Jenna FAYE MADDEN. And Jenna is an international best-selling author, professional speaker, New Earth visionary, and a 7-figure leadership and business mentor for conscious female entrepreneurs. Jenna is the CEO of Soulmate Strategy and specializes in guiding conscious feminine leaders to activate their leadership and accelerate their business profitability to 6 and 7 figures and beyond. Yay. And then I'll introduce myself, a little bit about me. So I'm Dewi Miley Lim, and I help guide trailblazing luminary women to stand out as thought leaders, to build flourishing communities, to grow partnerships, and thrive during this time of great change on the planet. And I'm all about really like seizing the moment of where we find ourselves in this beautiful human evolution and to stand up as the leaders that we came here to be. I feel like we came here for this. So that's really what my whole focus of why I'm here and why I'm doing this. And I'm a visionary artist and coach, and I lead workshops, masterminds, and painting vision quests. And I do this one-on-one and in groups and as a featured guest expert with other luminary communities. So if you have a community and you want to bring in some deep dive creative processes, I love to collaborate. So hit me up if you're interested in ever doing something like that as a collaboration. And I'm also founder of New Earth Luminary and this Quickening series. And I also have a group program called Rebel Heart Creatrix Line. Okay, so I'm going to give Sherry the floor now. And Sherry, you have, all of us have 10 minutes to present. And keep track of your time, ladies. And then I'm going to also in chat, I will PM you a 1-minute reminder. And that's when you can wrap up and share your links of how we can stay in touch with you. And I will also drop those into the comments so that you don't have to worry about that. I'll take care of that. So I'm going to move the pins for myself and Jenna. And then at the end, we're going to have an open forum. So this is another cool part of what makes this like a living, breathing event where everyone here is welcome to share their voice. Please, like as the presenters share, like drop your comments, like your ahas, whatever you feel is resonating. Let's big each other up here. And then if you have questions, please share them as well. And then we can talk. You can even bring them up, with your voice and introduce yourself. Okay, that's it for now. Okay, Sherry, the floor is yours.
Thank you, my dear friend. I am so excited to be here. As Dewi said, we have been in circles together for a while now, and I am always inspired and intrigued by the path that Dewi takes to create her magic in the world. She's definitely a huge inspiration for me. And so today I wanted to use this time to talk about, as I think about as we step into creating the new earth and as we redefine our roles as empowered feminine leaders, what are kinds of things can hold us back? What are the things that might keep us stuck and keep us from really making the changes that this world needs? One of my big missions in this world is to raise the vibration of this planet and to help to heal it in whatever way that comes to be. I want to be part of that ripple effect. And having spent 25 plus years in corporate sales and marketing, I'm way too familiar with the old structures and the old ways of doing business, of needing to show up in the world, the hustle culture. And as I stepped into my own entrepreneurship, this was a huge focus for me to ensure that I was having more of a heart-centered approach to business and that I was supporting others to do that as well. So really for me, at bottom line, it comes down to stepping away from that industrial model. If you're astro curious and familiar at all, we are moving from Capricorn energy, which is very hierarchical, to more Aquarian energy, which is more community, the I and the we. And all these structures are breaking down, but it takes time. And we get to be part of that change. So that industrial model, praise progress no matter what the cost, right? And what I believe is one of the most impactful ways we can create change is to return to a cyclical way of living and doing business. That's where astrology for me has been really powerful because it creates a structure for us to follow. And it's the structure that our ancestors followed for millennial. This idea of linear productivity, this idea of like a traditional 12-month calendar is only 400 years old. It operates as if there's no end, right? Like we have never-ending resources and never-ending time, and there's no consideration for the human element. And I really believe that as feminine leaders, that is part of what we get to bring to this party, this idea, that the feminine, there can be this balance between feminine and masculine energies. We all contain them both. But that idea of this capitalistic model of infinite growth, rather than focusing on cycles, has put people into the mode of hustle and grind, burnout, overwhelm, and has taken some of our most powerful potential thought leaders out at the knees. And I don't want to see that happen ever again. I want folks that have a message to be able to be out in the world sharing their magic. So, as we think about returning to a cyclical way of living, that shifts the ideas and the hows in terms of how we show up online, how we show up for our clients, because we can't continue, this idea that you've always got to be present, you've always got to be there, you've got to be doing, that there's consequences to running a business that way. Whereas we're just going to continue to tax our adrenal system if we do. And it's our personal resources that get depleted, as well as our planetary resources that get depleted. So what's the other way? It's the way our ancestors knew that there is a rhythm and a flow that the sun and the moon and the planets have to guide us by. The sun being like those macro themes, one of the most simple ways to implement cyclical cycles into your business and into your life is to follow the zodiacal journey that the sun takes. It's so simple and so brilliant, in my opinion. We talk about in traditional linear calendar, we talk about the new year, new you being in January. Well, that's like in the middle of winter for most people, right? Where we don't necessarily have that lift of energy. Whereas the astrological calendar begins in spring. It begins at the equinox. It begins when we're in that energy of planting seeds. And we take this beautiful journey through the cycles, and we can follow that natural rhythm for ourselves and our business. Even if you just looked at it seasonally. Think about spring, planting seeds. Summer, we're harvesting those things. We've learned some things. We're harvesting. We're seeing growth in the fall. We get to reap the benefits of what we've sowed. And then in the winter, we follow the soil, right? And we learn and we go inside, and then we come back renewed. And that's what I think is the stepping stone for empowered feminine leaders, is to live and work within your own natural cycles, whatever those are for you. The cosmos just give us a beautiful guidebook to step into that at whatever layer or levels you want to work with. Besides the sun cycles, we've also got what I think has really been powerful, which I've been really working with folks in my circle with, is looking at Mars, which is our motivation. It's our will. And the industrial model says your motivation goes like this. It's just supposed to be constant. And maybe you take a break here or there. In astrology, when we look at your own personal Mars cycles, we can see that it's an ebb and flow over a 2-year period. And when you know that you're in an ebb, you can work with that energy. I was stuck in that ebb from September through February, but I knew it was coming, and I planned my marketing and planning accordingly. I set myself up for success by knowing and setting my own expectations of what my energy would be like. The more we're in tune with our own inner wisdom, the more we're in tune with our own natural cycles, the more impact we can have out in the world, the more support we can be to those we're meant to lead, and the more we do it in a way that honors our uniqueness. One of the things I'm famous for saying is constantly is there's no one way, there's just your way. And I believe that's another gift that astrology can give us guidance wise, is knowing where our own ebbs and flows are, where the collective ebbs and flows are, and so that we can tap in and tune into those in a way that gets us out of energetically needing to feel like we need to push all the time. So my experience with feminine empowerment and leadership is, has been this, I don't want to say black and white, but from that really male dominated, I was one of very few women traveling back in the day for business and in sales. I was typically one of the only women in the room at the table in the circles I traveled in. And I'm so grateful to have the opposite occurring now, but I want to see a blend of all of that. I believe there's benefits to both, but the feminine leading the way, this shifting from hustle culture, changing the mindset to working with our own cycles and rhythms, working with flow, that's what's going to take us into that Aquarian age in a way where we can really be the I within the we and have all of those needs met. So I have a couple of gifts or opportunities for you I'd love to share. I wanted to be able to give you kind of an overview of what am I even talking about if you're not super familiar with sun cycles. I've got an opportunity for you to get a free download, and there'll be some additional training that goes along with that shows you those big picture themes and overviews. So it'll give you a guide, and I'll be sharing some videos that go along with it, how you could actually work with that in your business. And then in addition, I have got, just for the folks within this series or who are watching this series, the Mars cycles that I talked about. Knowing your personal Mars cycles is so powerful. And so I have an opportunity for you to get your own individualized Mars cycles. You'll get a roadmap. It'll show you exactly your ebbs and flows. There'll be a guide sheet that tells you what each of those peaks and valleys actually mean and how you can work with them. And then I give you a personally recorded 10-minute overview of your own cycles and what you may be experiencing. And then we can do a 15-minute Voxer or Messenger chat to answer any questions. So thank you, Dewi, for giving me the space here to share my perspective. And thanks to all of you for listening.
Yay, That's so awesome. And thank you for these generous gifts. I know I'll definitely sign up for them if I'm not already signed up. You'll have to let me know. I really appreciate you, and I love just witnessing you really embodied in your beautiful feminine leadership. Such a gift to be in your world, Sherry. I appreciate you. Okay, I'm going to remove pin from Sherry. And please, if you have any questions for Sherry, take advantage of her wisdom while she's here. Okay, we'll have you come on later. You could pop them in the chat. Okay, next up we have beautiful Jenna FAYE MADDEN. Excited for your presentation, and you are on.
Woohoo! Hello, how do I follow this all up? There's already been so much magic flowing for today, and I'm so excited to be here for you. Thank you, Daly, for the great intro. I won't go into that because we've already covered it, so I'm just going to jump right into things. And this morning I was kind of marinating on what would be the right topic for today, where should I take this conversation, and what kept coming through for me, and I think this is actually the perfect synchronistic kind of carrying on of what's already been shared today, is really redefining success and how we can embrace more of our feminine values in leadership, especially for the online business world, because I too worked in corporate, and I feel like the definition of success has been like so deeply programmed into all of us in that traditional sense of how we measure it, which is very much how much we do in a day. And I see this with clients, I see it with friends, I notice it within myself, where it's so easy to slip back into basically measuring our success, not only on how much money we're making, but also I would say even more so on how much we're doing. And there's like this push-pull energy that I'm seeing happen while we're in this transitional time right now, where we know now that that isn't necessarily our best path forward, I would say as a collective, but even more specifically through the lens of like female business owners and women with a business growing online. And it's been the biggest journey for me, especially after leaving corporate, where I kind of rebelled. And I was like, screw structure, screw all of this. I literally quit my corporate job. And I'm coming up on my 6th anniversary, I guess, of that. And when I quit, I had no plan, no savings, nothing. And I was like, I'm leaving this. I'm leaving the big city. I'm going to live in my RAV4 and just drive around North America. And then that kind of expanded on. I'm like, let's go live in Bali. Let's go live in New Zealand. Let's live in Nicaragua. And there's been all these grand travels that I'm so fortunate to have created for myself on this entrepreneurial adventure. But there was this key thing that kept coming up, which was that I wasn't really enjoying the process. Like the behind the scenes was, me on this epic road trip in Australia, but I'm like glued to my phone trying to get more done in a day that, to be honest, up until the last year or two, I really wasn't present to the journey. And even though I got the concept of like embodied feminine leadership, I truthfully wasn't really embodying it a lot of the time, because it's so much harder, I think, sometimes to apply it. And in our own businesses, we get so close to the things that we're birthing and creating that sometimes it's hard to zoom out a little bit and notice our own blind spots. And so for me, in contrast to corporate, I was living a pretty feminine, like intuitively led kind of thing, but I had like completely rebelled from structure and planning and strategy. And I started to eventually realize that it was hindering, not helping, I want to say, because I was actually just spending a lot more time working than what I actually wanted. And if there's one thing I've realized, and of course there's a spectrum here, most of us as women don't actually want to work really hard. It's more that we want to be expressed in our gifts, in our magic. We want to feel connected. We want to feel free. And yet so many of us are working in this like old paradigm kind of context for ourselves, where we're not really having a good time. We're not enjoying the process. And so I feel like what we're experiencing is a lot of these limitations coming up, showing themselves to us, where we can pinpoint it, because I'm seeing more and more as the consciousness rises, there's very clear signs, like to the point where we're literally getting bonked on the head, where it's like, hey, this is not the long-term path forward. And we kind of hit this point where we like succumb, you know, like you can't ignore it any longer. I better plug in my laptop so it doesn't die mid-rant here. But I feel like we can't ignore it. We can't avoid it. And the thing I keep getting redirected to is what actually are our feminine values on an individual sense, but a collective sense as well. And I would say some of the big ones are empathy, connection, collaboration, intuition. And in this industry, even still, I wouldn't say, even though those are buzzwords, I wouldn't say that that is how most people are really leading themselves in their business. There's still a lot of comparison. There's still a lot of competition. And there's still a lot of, whoa, that coach is doing a lot. I must need to do a lot. Wow, she's putting out a lot of content. Maybe I need to put out this kind of content. And there's all these subtle energies where we're not really leading ourselves from our true values. And a lot of us aren't actually, when I talk to so many women, like they're not feeling that connected to their community. And what I mean by this, just to give one example, is as content creators, we're often putting as much of our creative energy into that process as we can to like stand out, be different, attract new clients, but then we're not necessarily actually engaging with our audience. We might not have the energetic capacity for it because that energy and that creativity within us gets directed in other ways. And so a lot of us, when I look at the behind the scenes of businesses, we're not replying to the DMs. We're not inviting people to reach out and really connect with us. We're not prioritizing getting back to comments. Like a lot of these little things that really do build the fabric and foundation of a successful business, which is community, which is connection. And most of us are craving that so deeply that I find 9 times out of 10, when we create the space to prioritize that, it's like that's when things go boom. That's when our business really starts to grow. That's where we get even better marketing ideas and content ideas as well, because we're actually tuned in and plugged into our community instead of maybe feeling like we're at the mercy of the interwebs, you know, hoping that things land, hoping that things stick, looking at what other people are doing. And even though we're very intuitive women, I feel like probably everyone here today is, I feel like we all have that within us. I just feel like a lot of us aren't truly allowing ourselves to lead from that space. And then we're not feeling that creative. So like in a coaching, healing, online space kind of capacity, I feel like the reflection for all of us here to tune into is, how can I bring forth more of my unique magic? How can I embody it? And I'll say 2 of my favorite questions to leave everyone with today. Number 1 is, what desires to manifest through me? Right? So like if you're feeling blocked in your content or your business plan or what your next offer is, like start asking it to come through your channel and actually let it be revealed, because the very masculine quality of trying to control everything, which can also be like a distorted feminine tendency, is us literally like closing off the tap, closing off our heart, closing off our intuition. So when we really ask that question and feel the openness in our body of what desires to manifest through me, it can give us a lot of clarity, even if it's like our new post idea. And the other kind of phrase or question or philosophy that I really follow is follow the activation. Now, not from a self-sabotaging kind of place where anytime anything feels a little uncomfortable, we avoid it, because I feel like that's something common in this industry too, is like, oh, it's not in alignment because it's uncomfortable, which I would say a lot of the times it's actually very in alignment and those are just growing pains. But more importantly, to follow the activation of what actually brings like an emotion, a sensation in your body that's pointing you in the direction of where you want to go. Because I feel like in this new paradigm, we can't force things and we can't push ourselves out of obligation or should. So sometimes that means we need to evolve. Sometimes it means we need to pivot. Sometimes it means we need to slow down in order to speed up, but really paying attention to like, what are those activations for you? Because at the end of the day, this is why I think a lot of us get into entrepreneurship, is we don't want to be controlled. We don't want to be limited. don't want to be capped. We don't want to be bored. And so we get this literal playground where we get to adapt, we get to pivot. And yes, that means that we still need devotion and follow through, but we can also be really adaptable and flexible. And so don't get too tied down or bogged down by your plans, right? Like maybe with launches and your marketing. So if something actually feels more fun, that's the cool thing is you might say, you know what, I'm actually going to launch this thing next. And then I'm going to do this instead. And then you'll feel so much better and so much more open. So that's what I'll leave you with today to think about. And in terms of gifts, opportunities, support, of course, I'd love to connect. I'm definitely a connector. So definitely feel free to connect with me, whether it's on LinkedIn or Instagram, Facebook. I'm on all the places. And for free gifts, I have two things that I think fit the theme of today really well. I have an epic quiz that I spent a long ass time creating, and everyone who's taken it has gotten so much clarity. It's called the Business Magic Archetype Quiz. And it takes you through to figure out what elemental energy are you the most in alignment with, and how to come up with your own personalized, fully booked, sought out potion, so to speak. So that is a really great resource. And I also have an awesome guide. And this is called Expressed AF. And it's got 21 prompts in there of how to really let source and spirit guide you in your content creation journey. So if anyone's feeling stagnant or bored, this could be a really great way to lean in into your expression of your magic. And those are both free. So if anyone wants to take those, I'll pop them in the chat. And you can always reach out to me as well. I love to hear what results you get or what takeaways when you dive into these things. So thanks for the opportunity to share.
Oh, there I am.
There you are.
So much. Your links, are they on the resources page? Because I did drop that.
I think, yeah, they're all, under the soulmatestrategy.com/bio on there that has the quiz. It has the guide. There's a bunch of other free things on there too. Like I've got a censorship-free community. Oh, yeah. Yes, that is the right spot.
Yes, and I'm like, okay, this is something that I can like be inspired by what Jenna's got going on this page.
Thank you.
I so appreciate you. Okay, so it is my turn to present, and we got lots of beautiful comments in the stream here, in the chat stream, so feel free to keep those going. So today I crafted a mini training, and this is all about what's working now for embodied feminine leaders on LinkedIn in terms of content creation. So really kind of piggybacking on what Jenna just shared, following these through lines of our inspiration and even what's firing us up. So I work with thought leaders who really want to stand out and make waves right now. You know, we are on this precipice of birthing this new paradigm, right? In business, in our own personal lives, it's happening in an unprecedented way, more than I believe in any other time in recorded history. You know, this is a golden opportunity for us to well, first of all, just drop into the gift and the blessing it is to be embodied at this time. Like, I just feel so grateful that I even am here. And that I feel this like missioned kind of aspect to being here in my life. I've always put myself in leadership positions, even when I was little, and I've always been a connector. As well. And so before the advent of social media and the ability for us to connect on platforms like Zoom, I wrote letters. I had over 300 pen pals at one point, and my highest letter day was 25 letters in the mail. And I used to communicate with girls all over the world. And so like social media was a great evolution point for me, and I dove right in right away. And now that I'm been in this kind of social media world for a while now, I've come to find, you know, which platforms I prefer and work for me and which ones that I'm just tending to be more dissuaded from these days. And primarily I've used Facebook before LinkedIn to grow my business and have a group there. And I just starting to feel disillusioned, even when like Meta became this conglomerate with Instagram. They're just not for me somehow. And I do love using YouTube as well, for creating content and sharing content. But when I found LinkedIn earlier this year, or returned to LinkedIn, I was pleasantly surprised because I was seeing kind of this blue ocean opportunity to share the skills, gifts, talents, and my voice as an embodied feminine leader there, and that I wasn't seeing very much in my feed. And so I mentioned earlier, there's this opportunity that we have to be creators, be a creator there, and create a creator profile. And I want to share two types of content that you can consider creating. One is original content, and the other one is curated content. And so the thing about sharing either of these is that they're going to allow you to really start to stand out in the algorithm. You will find more people, especially if you're creating content that's kind of controversial or shares distinctions about your industry or your field that maybe other people aren't highlighting or even are afraid to say. Like if you're willing to say the things that other people are afraid to say on LinkedIn and kind of wrap it in the container and context of why people are there, because it's a little bit different, right, on LinkedIn, because people are there to first network, to do personal development, to grow their skills in their career industry, to find opportunities, and to also get business. So the reason why you may want to really start to focus your efforts there, in addition to wherever else is working for you, is because the median income there as well of people on LinkedIn is $100,000 median income on LinkedIn. So people are more just primed. The field is more primed for business conversations there. And if you aren't necessarily like in the niche of being in business, there's ways you can frame your content that would address the people that are on LinkedIn to support them to get more of what they want. So it's kind of just framing your content creation in that way. So, you know, even if you have a business where you're working with mothers, let's say, you can frame your content in a way that the mothers that are on the platform would benefit from seeing your content. So I'm going to share my screen and show two pieces of content examples that I did. One is an original content piece, and the other one is a curated content piece, really quick, so you can just see what I'm talking about here and kind of the results that I've been getting. Here. I minimized my window, and now I guess it minimizes the share screen as well when you do that. Okay, so here we go. So this first piece of content was one of the ones I did that was really about like kind of making waves and sharing my voice on a topic that I have a lot of experience with, which is business masterminds and, you know, both investing in many and as well as facilitating many, and specifically linking it to my audience, which is embodied feminine leaders. And so the very first thing you'll notice when you see a post show up on LinkedIn is you only see the first two lines of a post. So this idea of creating a hook is really important. And you basically want to state in a nutshell what you're speaking about and what you're going to be diving into right away, so that people will be compelled, the right people will be compelled to click read more and then see the rest of your post. So the point I made right off the top is most masterminds miss the mark for embodied feminine leaders. And let me back up a second to what you may want to post, especially if you're promoting things, are any points that or issues that your particular offer solves for your ideal client, right? So this is one of the things that my Rebel Heart Creatrix mind solves. Like we have this opportunity in our group to both be in this masculine support of a group where we're working on accountability and what we're working on in getting our thought leadership out there. But then we also have this sister support community, kind of like what we're experiencing here, right? So I went more into the crux of the issue. They operate on a masculine centric model, solely focus on auto results right away. And then, really one last thing I'll share, because I don't have too much time, is that, creating like easy to read chunks where you're kind of like bulleting things out for people to read. And this goes for emails too, is great because it really kind of moves the eye down your content quickly and gives people like little tidbits, where you can kind of bullet out your points. The next thing I wanted to share is there is a person that I follow on LinkedIn named Julius, and he works with people on personal branding and content creation. And he made this like really short 44-second video about having your content stand out. So what I did was I went ahead and you can repost. There's a little repost button here on LinkedIn. You can repost an article, and then you need to make sure though that you create content on top that is of your own additional perspective that can really either kind of go deeper on what that thought leader shared, or even contradict it, or enhance it and take it a step further. So that's what I went ahead and did with this content piece. So you can see here his post is below me. And then I also posted this within the body of his post, and he saw it and he like personally responded. So if there's like a certain, there's people that you want to engage with more on LinkedIn, finding their content and engaging with their content is a really great way to do that. And also, with his post, and this is great info just for us too, if we do want to stand out more as thought leaders on any platform. I was sharing how, really, I went deeper in one of his points, which was incite curiosity with your hook. And I said, share something controversial or make a distinction that addresses something unknown, unspoken, or hidden within your industry. And this positions you as a thought leader who isn't afraid to call out inconsistencies or outdated practices, helps you stand out in a sea of sameness, adds valuable insight, shining light on the shadow side of things, and builds awareness for your audience so that they're empowered to avoid pitfalls and navigate their lives and businesses eyes wide open. So I'm sharing this content kind of in a multi-dimensional way, because it also applies to what we're doing here with this series, and I really want us to share our voices as embodied feminine leaders on the platform. And, we are part of this kind of birthing the new paradigm within business, within our own experiences. So how cool would it be for us to kind of just start to, curate posts that turn this old way on its head, and not to be, controversial just for the sake of being controversial, but really to help to open people's eyes and hearts up to more of this divine feminine way. And that's really what this speaker series ultimately is. What I'm attempting to do here with this series is have us have the divine feminine and have us as embodied feminine leaderships be able to shine on this platform in a typically, in the past vanilla and like traditional corporate business related world, to really start to bring our own wisdom and our own experiences into that. So hopefully that was helpful for you to receive those points about content creation and how you can do it on LinkedIn in particular. And you really want to do that if you're wanting to stand out more. And so I have a couple things I wanted to share with you as my gifts. I just have to pull them up. So I have a free gift. It is my Oracle deck creation workshop. So I facilitate experiences for women where we use something called intentional creativity to really address any thing you want in your life or business, to connect into more of your soul's wisdom. And so this Oracle deck creation workshop will allow you to do that. And it's Oracle deck card creation for your own personal use, not to have a commercial deck or anything like that. And then I also, I just opened up the doors to Rebel Heart Creatrix Mind again. And it is a beautiful blend of this masculine, feminine support and structure in our container. And a couple of the sisters that are part of the group are in on this call today. And if you want to just talk story, as we call it in Hawaii, and explore whether it might be a fit for you, I have a Creatrix Clarity Call link that I put there. And even if you just want to talk shop about LinkedIn too, I'm an open book for that. And that was it for now. Thank you for all being here. And that completes my presentation. I wanted to now open up the floor for anyone. Let me remove my pin. Open up the floor for anyone to just share any insight you have about any of what any of our speakers shared today, what's standing out to you, any feedback for us. Feel free to share your voice. Now is our open time of the call. Feel free to just come off mute. Christiana, you had your hand raised. Oh, maybe that went down.
I'll share. Hi. Yeah, so good to be here. Thank you, everyone. I loved all of the presentations. I resonated with everyone. Sherry, I really, what you shared about just the Mars cycle, like I'm really excited to learn more about that. I'm just kind of diving into astrology for myself and learning my natal chart, and it's been very healing for me actually, and I'm just like, wow, it's like there's so many layers to it, and so it's just like this whole treasure trove that I'm excited to get more deep. And I'm really appreciating you sharing the Mars piece, because that feels really important, especially for business and all of that. So thank you. And Jenna, I really resonated with what you were sharing about this push-pull, that push-pull, because I know I've definitely experienced that a lot, and just really resonated with everything that you shared, and just appreciating that perspective. And I felt like you were really real, like just really like, I think she's in my head. I think she knows what's going on over here. So thank you for that. And Due, thank you so for the LinkedIn. I've been like, I keep saying, I'm like, I need to show up on LinkedIn. I need to show up on LinkedIn, because I too have been feeling a little jaded around Facebook, and don't even get me started about Instagram. I just can't. I just can't. But LinkedIn does feel like this uncharted territory. And yet at the same time, when I get on there, I still feel like, I'm like, do I belong here? I don't know. So it's just really exciting. I feel like you're trailblazing into this arena in this divine feminine way. And I'm just excited to like see what comes of that. And so thank you for sharing those examples. That was really helpful. It was like, I always feel like I need specific stuff. So that was really helpful. So thank you. I'm so glad to be here with you all.
Jill, and do you want to, we are going to have a connection call after this for speakers and people who are wanting to be speakers on the series. Do you want to just introduce what you do and real quick, what you're up to in the world?
Sure. Oh gosh, what do I do? It changes every day. Yeah, so my name is Jill Ashley Hoffman. I guess you could say I'm a healing artist. You know, my work is really about embodiment and helping purpose-driven women. Really is what I'm discovering is like who I'm meant to work with is like purpose-driven women to really embody and connect deeper into their purpose using their bodies, using their relationship to their bodies and changing their relationship to their bodies. Because I believe that the more connected we are to ourselves and the more embodied, I know that word keeps coming up, but it's like the more embodied we are within ourselves, the more we like turn inward versus outward for the answers. Just we learn so much about ourselves and things, the clarity just starts to come. So I'm just really a stand for embodying your value, your worth. That's been such a huge journey for me, just really getting more connected to my own value and worth. And exquisite self-care. I think that's part of the divine feminine pathway, is really embracing what does it mean to take care of my body, my vessel so exquisitely, you know, beyond what we've been taught. And I think that is that's what I support people with. So embodying that exquisite self-care to really connect to yourself and your purpose and to show up, because if we're not nourished from the inside out, we don't have the confidence because we don't trust ourselves. So thank you.
Christiana, were you wanting to share, sis?
Aloha, Dewi. Thank you so much. Mahalo for all that you do and how you're bringing these badass women together. The common theme I'm feeling, the underlying theme, is many of us have come from the corporate genre where the masculine energy and the head thinking was really ruling the roost. And we jumped ship and then we went to this other dimension and time and space and just said kind of like, oh, hell with it all type thing. Then finding our rhythm and cycle and finding our center and our embodiment and coming back into our inner knowing that we don't need to destroy that bridge and set it aflame, really weave the two worlds together and start integrating that we're really beautiful beings that have so much creativity to share. And we need a structure to share it within. We need that framework. And so while honoring our own rhythms and cycles, as Sherry was saying, while creating an ecosystem that Jenna was sharing about. And so I'm seeing these overlapping energies with many of the ways that we work as divine feminine leaders, and how it's time to show up and take our place at the forefront, not in just all the ways that we have promoted ourselves through you know, with rah-rahing for years now, from burning bras to standing up for Planned Parenthood, for all these other things that we have done, the We movement, all of it. Now it's really time to do that for ourselves, is what I'm hearing, to really show up for ourselves. And so it felt like that was a beautiful underlying current, while also hearing everybody's work that they're doing here now. And it has me feeling that, oh, I'm not alone. And that's a really beautiful feeling of community. That's my takeaway. Mahalo.
appreciate the way you weave everything together, Christiana. I get the benefit of getting that often with you. So thank you for sharing your weave. Anyone else feel inspired to share? Hi, Sophia.
Hey. So thanks everybody for being here and speaking, and Dee for creating this space. And I feel like kind of drawing it together as well. When we were talking about LinkedIn, I wasn't aware that LinkedIn had changed so much. So I'm a writer and my name's Sophia Wren. And I just found out recently about the newsletters that you can do. And then I was like, oh, I heard about it. I started doing one. And it was amazing because it was like, oh my God, like 20 people signed up to subscribe to it. Like, okay. And so like there really are all these opportunities. And then at the same time, I was talking a little bit to Dee about this because I have a cause that I want to share that's for girls and ending FGM in Sierra Leone for a nonprofit that I work with. And I was confronted with just sort of my feeling that like LinkedIn is the patriarchy. And I don't think it is, because I think we can change it to be whatever we want it to be as creators. Like, this is what being a leader is. This is what being the new earth is. Like, we're changing the hustle culture and we're trying to be more expressed. And, you know, we can use LinkedIn to do what we want to do. And, but it's just, you know, overcoming that in my own mind and finding a way to play in a space that has a history, play in a space that has a context, and play in a space that has other people's expectations of what it should be in it, and then creating something new out of that is sort of like, that's the vibe that I'm getting. Kind of all of us are doing, especially, you know, if you're using LinkedIn, or even if you're just thinking about it. But, you know, it's like, just because it was used in a certain way by fuddy-duddy people in the past doesn't mean that we can't add our magic and take it over, you know, because there's so many changes happening in the world, like generationally, people are changing. I feel like kind of the baton is passing hands, and I feel like women are playing such a huge role in the world, and not just as like good little workers, but like as leaders, you know, like we can make LinkedIn be our space if we want it to be our space. And you know what I mean? And I feel like people have maybe like done that maybe with Facebook. You know, you've seen people do that kind of stuff before, and you can kind of isolate everybody so that all your friends are kind of in your same echo chamber. But like LinkedIn might have like your boss from 20 years ago and like your people you went to college with, and it's a little bit less echo chambery in that sense. And so it feels a little bit more powerful to bring in our magical stuff, you know, because it might be somebody's like worst nightmare, and that's okay. But you know, finding a way to place it there in this kind of common space that has a little bit of a different vibe, context, etc. So I think you guys get what I'm talking about, but I do find it really interesting that like LinkedIn is a different space and I'm still playing in it, but I just wanted to bring in that piece, you know.
Thank you. Yay. Okay, well, we have a speaker only follow-up call, and it's a different link. So I'm going to end this recording and we can all pop back on, and I will see you all in a moment. Those of you who are staying on, thank you for a beautiful session today, everyone. I appreciate you all. Aloha. See you in the next room, those of you who are joining.